Hogstye.
Hello, Washington, and it is the Hogsty. It is a victory show. We're recording this a day early because of the game being on Thursday. Just if you're wondering why this is up early for you. But Washington wins in week one. We're going to have to talk about that. We're going to have to talk about the Packers game. Those are going to be the focus of the show. Washington getting a great win early, taking that thing from the Giants as easily as a middle-aged woman taking a home run ball from a 10-year-old. You know, it was just a thing of beauty there. Yes.
The references to the Phillies fan who stole
Yes.
a ball from
Philly
a child.
Karen, as it's called.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hopefully somebody's tracked that lady down and found who she is.
There's been rumors. Dave's up there. He probably has been closer to all that than I have.
I think personally any Philly fan would do what she did, but
Oh, you know,
Philly's the city of hate.
it's. I tell you, I mean, that situation I think is a little different than what most people picture, because when you look at the full scope of it, the ball was literally coming towards her, at her, hit the seat right before her, and
Right.
typical etiquette at that, at most stadiums is, instead of running, like he ran like 10 seats over to come down in front of her and grab it away from her and walked away. I mean, that right there, I think, was bad on him. But for her to come over and do what she did in front of the young kid was bad on her. I think that's a two-way street there.
I don't
Mostly
at all.
on
I
her.
think
Mostly on her
If
because
the
of the
ball's
kid
on the
involved.
ground, it's a scrum at that
yeah,
point.
it's fair game. She didn't catch it. I mean,
Yeah, but it's a different. To me, it's a different story if he's like 2 or 3 seats over and it's like right there.
Oh yeah,
boom.
of course. There's.
I mean, he ran right down the aisle after it hit the ground already. It's not like he was running over to get up under it. So
I think it's totally fair game, and she was ridiculous for demanding
Oh,
a ball.
of course.
Well, no, you're right
10-year-old,
about
however old
that.
kid
Yeah,
is.
I think we all agree there. Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
we all
I
agree
will
there.
say, I've actually been in that very situation where I caught a home run ball and they demanded I give it up to the person whose head it bounced off of in front of me.
What did you say?
I was nice and gave it to the little girl, because that's what you do when it hits a little kid in the head. But,
the little person ahead of you was a child.
no, it was actually like a 20-something-year-old girl.
Oh, okay.
She was not paying attention. She was gabbing and talking and not looking at the ball that bounced off her head and into my hands 5 rows behind her. But I'm a nice person, so I was like, "Yeah, you have a concussion. Here you go, lady."
Take the ball. No, I 100% blame the woman. I think the dad has every
absolutely.
right to go chase the ball down. If she didn't catch it, it's fair game as far as I'm concerned. So I disagree with you, Dave. We can disagree honorably.
That's cool.
I think
One thing is for sure, that she's
Yeah.
definitely from Philadelphia to do something like that.
Yes.
Now the one thing, I mean, I get blasting her, calling her out, make the memes, do
Everyone
all do all of that, but let's not try to go into people's livelihoods or ruin their lives, as in like getting them fired and all that stuff. It's not like she like threatened the little kid and grabbed him and
Right.
took a swing at anybody, Right.
She
You
might
know,
have
like-
threatened the kid, but no, I agree with you. It's just a baseball. At the end of the day, don't go after a job. That's
No,
ridiculous.
of course, not for that.
If she a
all
lousy
right.
person, yes,
Yes,
Toby
yes.
agrees.
Terrible
The
haircut.
Cast member is
Absolutely.
here, by our fourth cast member is here and agrees.
Yeah, but you know what? My best, the best meme I saw was because if you look at the woman's face and you think of Elizabeth Warren right away, well, there was a meme that said, well, it was a meme where someone put Elizabeth Warren's face on her and said, we found out who it was, and here was Elizabeth Warren on.
I think the best
Dude, I
one is the
died.
one where it CGIs into Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That's
I
my
saw
favorite
that
one.
too, yeah.
Well, like as she's walking away, it transitions her
Yeah.
face to Gollum's face as she's holding up the ball and looking at it. It's fantastic.
Now, see, that's actually a perfect depiction of her, probably.
yeah, the
Yes,
personality.
absolutely.
That's
Yes.
her inner soul right
I
there.
think Elizabeth Warren is the most ridiculous member of Congress behind only Bernie Sanders. So
Well,
yes,
you would.
Elizabeth Warren as Gollum is appropriate.
Well, that's not what was said. But okay, Steve can't keep up right now. Steve's been busy. All
Yeah,
right,
you kind of
No, it's just
conflated the
no.
two
I think
together.
Elizabeth. No, I think I heard what you said. I did hear it. I'm saying Elizabeth Warren is Gollum. That's what I'm
I think
saying.
first off, if anyone looks like Gollum, it is Bernie. As much as I like Bernie's politics, he's just old. He looks like Gollum. All old
Bernie
men look.
Sanders is an absurd human being, but that's another podcast for another day.
All right, let's get into the real stuff here, which is the Commanders' win over the Giants.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, the who?
I'm sorry. You're right. The Washington team of sports of football.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Makes me feel better.
Washington. I think we all were a little nervous going to this game because NFC East rivalry. These things can become a rock fight or a mud fight or whatever kind of fight you want. This one was over fairly quickly. Apparently, with Washington scoring its first touchdown, they really didn't need to do anything else because the defense stepped up and held the Giants to just 6 points. I don't think any of us were expecting that kind of performance on the defense.
No.
That was really impressive, and I actually want to start there because of it.
Are you not in? You're out of practice.
I'm
obviously.
a little out of practice, but that's fine.
We do stats first.
Oh, Steve, you and your stats. All right, let's start with the
listen,
stats.
we have to do the numbers, man. Come on.
Let's do the numbers.
Well, right now,
okay.
all the listeners are going, Alex, stop. Steve, go. He keeps saying
there
that
you go.
right now.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Jane Daniels, 19 for 30, 233 yards, 1 touchdown. Was sacked 3 times. Quarterback rating of 98.3. Leading rusher was Ja'Cory Cross-Garrett, 10 carries, 82 yards. 8.2 yards per carry. Daniels was second, 11 for 68. Austin Eckler, a distant third, 6 for 26. Jeremy McNichols, 4 for 25. Deebo Samuel, 1 for 19. Leading receiver was Deebo Samuel, 7 for 77 yards. Chris Moore had 1 for 34. Austin Eckler, 3 for 31. Noah Brown and Terry McLaurin, 2 for 27 each. It goes down from there. There were no fumbles. The sacks were Daron Payne and Dorrance Armstrong. And Tress Way, 5. Anybody care to guess? 5 punts for Tress Way. Would anybody care to guess the yardage?
I won't guess because the stats are right in front of me.
Oh, you have them. Okay, do you want to take a stab at it?
I know it was definitely over 200 yards, probably around 230.
Pretty close, 245.
Yeah, pretty close. The disappointing thing for Tress Way, he did have 1 punt as a touchback, so no perfect season this year.
Did he have a perfect season last year?
No. It's been a few years.
Oh, okay.
I think he had 2 touchbacks last year. It was.
And by the way, from the Giants, Russell Wilson was 17 for 37, 168 yards. He was the leading rusher, 8 for 44. Offensively, they were really terrible.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go over all the defensive stats for that. And by the way, the leading tackler for Washington was Bobby Wagner with 10.
Right. Did you? I know you were kind of having to mute yourself because of Kobe there for a second. I don't know if the neighbors 5 for 71. He was their leading receiver. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No. Yeah. And actually, he was the leading receiver by yardage. Wandale Robinson actually had 6 for 55.
True.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's stats.
Yes.
Now you can continue, Alex.
All right. So I want to start talking about the defensive side of the ball, and I don't know if this is them stepping up and playing really well, or is this really just as bad of a Giants offense as it seems. They could get nothing done on the ground, as you said. Devin Singletary, who historically has been a decent running back, did nothing. Cam Scatterboo was a liability in the end in terms of the running game. He had one really impressive play on a pass out in the flats where he ran over somebody, but it was like a 5-yard completion. It wasn't huge.
He was 2 for -3 yards.
Yes, that's
rushing.
not good, right?
That's not good.
And
with a long of -1.
And our
Nice.
rookie running back was what would be the opposite of not good? Good is I think what it is.
So I mean his long was 42. So then you go 9 for 42, which is a little about 4.5.
Yeah,
I was
a little over
4.
4. Yeah, but still
not great,
you know,
but good. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. regardless, we're talking about their or our offense first versus or our
Our
defense first versus.
defense.
Yes, thank you. Um, the thing that I wasn't sure about was how they would handle that receiving core. It felt like they held Neighbors in check. I know he had 71 yards in the end, but they did a really good job containing him throughout the game. Like none of those plays he had were like a big back-breaking catch. It was five, very okay, maybe they moved the chains, so kind of plays in the end. And I think that the secondary held up surprisingly well. They were moving Neighbors everywhere. They were moving Robinson everywhere. Didn't matter who they were matched up against, and they weren't having any of the corners travel with these guys. Sometimes you had Amos covering Neighbors. Sometimes he was on the other side. Sometimes he was in the slot, and they just held up well, no matter who was in coverage.
Well, I think defensively, Stubby doesn't help.
That's okay. That's
Okay,
okay if we
so
disagree.
I think yeah, it begins and ends with the front four to me and the front seven. I mean, they were completely dominant in this game, and I think that set up a lot. I mean, Russell Wilson is granted old and washed up, and my first key to the game, question was really what Russell Wilson are we going to see, and we saw the old and washed up Russell Wilson.
Right.
However, I mean, um, especially without Andrew Thomas out there, the Giants' offensive line is really substandard. And Washington's defensive front seven did a really good job of not only containing him, containing the running game, which is mediocre at best, but keeping Russell Wilson under pressure, and everything just kind of collapsed, afterwards. And so I think that was the key to everything. They held Malik Neighbors okay. 5 for 71 is not great, but it's not, the end of the world from a Washington standpoint. But I think it's all keyed on the fact that they really did a good job of pressuring Russell Wilson, and whoops, and they were only sacked him twice, but he was, they controlled the line of scrimmage the entire game. To me,
He
that was the
didn't
key.
have the ability to. I know he led their team in rushing, but for the most part, they really didn't they didn't let him get outside too often on passing plays. Like they forced him to play from the pocket. And I know we focus a lot on they built this line to contain the run, but I think that a big part of what they're doing defensively and they want to do defensively this year is keep these mobile quarterbacks in the pocket. And you look at the rest of the division, you look at the way the league is. So many teams have quarterbacks who rely on rollouts and getting out into space so that they can have a clear path to throw in. If you can keep a lot of these guys in the pocket, and it makes their life harder.
Yeah, I mean they
Yeah.
did a good job at it. And granted, I mean Russell Wilson is however old he is now, mid 30s.
I think like 37. I'll double
Yeah, I
check.
was gonna
Yeah,
say
36,
37 actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's not, you know, in optimal, age and mobility and all of that, but and the Giants' offensive line is just terrible. Let's be
Yes.
honest. So they're
Oh
not going to
yeah,
be
that's
able
a
to do
big part
that.
of it.
Yeah, they're not going to
Now
be able to do
see,
that every week.
the one thing that I ask myself in games like this, when you dominate a team in the trenches like that, is if you consider yourself a playoff caliber team, you need to not only just do well and perform well and stop that. You need to dominate from beginning to end. First, second, third, fourth quarter, at no point did I ever think the Giants were ever going to do anything to come back into this game at all. And that's what a playoff caliber type of team does. Because we can go back not too many years ago. I mean, even during the Ron Rivera era, when he went against bad teams, even those bad teams would have like these drives late in the second quarter to keep themselves in the game, or you would see a mistake or a breakdown defensively, and you see a bad team or just a below average team come back into a game, and you're like, well, is this really a good team? Is this really a playoff caliber defense? Because look what they're allowing this team to do. This defense did not let that happen. Kinlaw was pretty much for one game so far as advertised for what they brought him in for. And one thing that I've noticed is because I've said before when Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne were together, to me they were two very similar components. One didn't really play off the other. They both played pretty much the same way. Kinlaw comes in, he's a very different player.
Mm-hmm.
He's more of a run stuffer, can really push the pocket back, where Deron Payne is more of the guy that can pressure the quarterback, but plays well against the run. They complement themselves very, very well, and Deron Payne had a great game off of that because they had the key on Kinlaw.
Mm-hmm.
Kinlaw was breaking down the running lanes and allowing Deron Payne those rushing lanes. And when they did the stunts and they moved around the defensive line, this is probably the best I saw Deron Payne in the last since what, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I think they complement each other real well. And Dimitri Wise on the edge. I mean, he was. I mean, well, actually, him and all right, what's his name? Our other defensive end, Armstrong.
Lawrence Armstrong.
Yeah, Torrance.
Torrance Armstrong. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, and
I was
and
like, who Torrance? Like what?
yeah, I know, right?
Well,
So
I'm
it's
glad
like,
you
so,
mentioned this actually because it was really a more dominant performance than we've seen from Washington against division rivals in a while.
Yes.
And the only thing that really held them back are a slate of penalties.
Yeah, I think
they
they
didn't do
had
well.
12 penalties
I
altogether.
counted
12 for
13, but
89.
it might have
Yeah.
been 12. Yeah.
12 for 89.
Yeah, that's it's just undisciplined and bad. But if you take that away and
Mhm.
you take up the screw up at the end of the half away, it was really a dominant performance, and we just haven't
Yep.
seen that from Washington against the Giants.
Yeah.
In a
Really in a long time. Right.
Right.
And that's what I was getting at before from a defensive standpoint. It started with the front seven.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yep. So, I want to talk about the offense and some of those miscues pretty soon. But we can't talk about the defense without talking about that one series early on where they had a 7-play in a row goal line stand. Obviously they had was it a holding penalty? I can't remember what.
No, it was. I think that was
On the
one with
fourth
that
down?
little contact in the helmet.
Oh, it was the
which
illegal.
was
Thank you.
which was
Yeah.
a horrible call, but
I
was.
agreed with the call personally. I mean, he made contact with the helmet.
yeah, but he made
continue.
contact, but you saw him coming off of it and not actually driving through it.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
his
but he
hand
still
went
made
up
that should be a
there and
difference.
He made contact.
To me, he still made contact.
He made
but-
contact in the end,
yeah.
but I understand what Dave is talking about. Of course,
Yeah.
like his hand went up there, realized what was going on, and he tried to pull it back. Obviously, too late.
Yeah, because his hand started at the pads, but then
Yeah.
it went up and then.
I know, but it's
But whatever.
contact.
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
So, that was a really impressive stand. The kind of thing you don't see defenses do very often anymore. That kind of like
Certainly not Washington defense.
certainly not
Right.
Washington, but like just in the league in general, it's so hard to really get a goal line stop like that when the other team's got 2-3 yards to go, and you did 7 times, and then they blinked. Now that's the thing I want to ask about. Do you go for it on that 8th shot, 4th and 1? Second time you've got 4th and 1.
I
or-
think at that point you needed to get points.
You think so?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
I
agree
would
with
have kicked
what
the field
Dable did?
goal. Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
because when's the last time you saw this defense play as disciplined as they did? Because even in that last play before they kicked off, it was almost like a boot for the tight end to come out, and Russell Wilson came out. But the defensive end stayed his ground, and he
Yep.
came instead of cracking down. And the linebacker to follow the tight end out. Everything was disciplined on that series, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen his defense play that discipline like that in a long time.
That level of defensive discipline is very rare in the
Yes.
league in general. It was impressive. I get what you're saying with going with points. I just think there's also if you do get the 7 instead of 3, you break their will a lot more.
Yeah, but you can't walk away from 7 straight plays on the goal line and get nothing.
Yeah,
To me.
I agree. I agree with that.
So anyway, I just thought that one series was fascinating because, and honestly, it was the only real series that New York had where they did anything. I know they got another 3 points at later, but that was nothing.
I mean, in terms of other defensive things, um, I thought Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos and Mike Sandersfield made a fairly decent, recognizing that the Giants' passing game isn't great, so it's not a great, wonderful test. But I thought they did fine, and Lattimore didn't make any huge mistakes like we saw on a regular basis last
Well,
year.
he did have a PI at one
Yeah,
point.
but that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while it's okay. I mean, they didn't give up. There were one or two that were wide open and busts and
Right.
stuff, but really nothing
Right.
terrible. And so I thought, the group has potential. If nothing else, we need to see a real challenge.
Yeah. And
we will soon this week.
We will in 48 hours. Yeah, the overall, I think you can't ask for much more than what they did defensively, unless you demand a shutout every time.
Listen, this is the Giants too, okay?
Yeah.
This is, and the Giants, we all kind of wondered what Giants in the preview, what Giants team we'd see, and what we saw was the old washed up version of Russell Wilson and an offensive line that was missing its best tackle,
right,
in Andrew Thomas,
and two good receivers, but that was it. Yeah.
Right.
They don't have much else.
I think we overestimated the Giants in the game preview. I mean, Dave and I did. Alex, you did.
I predicted they would score. I said it was going to be 35-28 or something like that. I thought it was going to be a high scoring game. I was way wrong about that. So, all right, let's flip sides. Let's talk about Washington's offense. They put up 21, not a huge day. Solid win overall. I think they had second or third highest point differential because of 15 points is pretty big in the NFL for final score. But the fascinating thing is it sounds like the veterans on this team came off the field and were unhappy with their performance, which is what you want to hear, honestly.
They should have been unhappy. It wasn't a good performance.
Yeah, they other than a solid day running the ball, they left a lot of points on the field in terms of the passing game. The passing game, I feel like every pass Jane Daniels made, except for maybe Eckler's first pass, the first pass to everybody hit him in the hands and they dropped it.
Yeah, but he made some bad passes, so you can't put it on the receivers. Jane Daniels did not have a great game.
He was throwing some fastballs when he needed to put some touch on it instead.
I didn't think it was his greatest game in the world, and his rating reflects that 98.3 is good but not great.
Right.
At least by today's NFL standards.
Yes. For Jane Daniels, 60-something% and a 98 rating is a subpar day for Jane Daniels.
Yeah, because when you have a throw to Chris Moore down the sidelines that's perfectly placed, and then you have a throw where you're throwing it behind a tight end on a third down and long.
Right.
That was kind of, you have an overthrow. Now, granted, chemistry, I get all that, but he played with McLaurin all year last year. The chemistry isn't that far off, I wouldn't think. That throw down the sidelines of McLaurin was just a poor throw. Throwing it, and then I believe it was Eckler was the running back on the screen, and he just basically threw it right there at his feet.
No, that was Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Was it Merritt? Okay.
Yeah, Merritt. That was Merritt. Yeah.
But then when you see a touchdown pass to Zach Ertz, it was great anticipation, perfectly thrown, tight window. So it was definitely back and forth of Jaden Daniels pretty much most of the game.
This is what happens in part when the coaching staff makes a mistake in not playing these guys in the preseason.
Yeah,
it's a mistake for them.
Yeah.
It's a mistake for them to be afraid of injuries. They need to play these guys. They're lucky they played a poor team in the Giants and not a good team.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
they could have easily gotten like Philadelphia on Thursday night. Just because they were a good team last year.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised they didn't get Philadelphia to open.
Well, look, Dallas is a way bigger draw than Washington. I mean, you got to be honest with yourself.
Oh, sure. In terms of market, yes, I understand.
That's what they care about.
Yeah.
It's just business people.
Yep. But I think so. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but I did see one of these websites, the analytics sites, did a receivers with quarterbacks who had the most dropped balls by their receivers, and Washington was number 1 this week. Now, I realize some of these throws we're talking about were not perfect,
Jane
but
Daniels was not great in this game.
balls hit guys in the hands. Other than the one that Merritt dropped, I think almost every one of those other drops could have been caught. The Ertz catch, that early one, like
Right.
that was a little out of his reach, but he got 2 hands on it. Same with Debo's drop. Same with Terry's drop at one point. But by the way, the Terry drop wasn't a drop. The one they challenged,
No, right. That was a catch.
that was absolutely a catch.
Yes.
They can call it a drop all they want, but that was a catch. They couldn't. There was not enough evidence. I get it, but
I don't like what the NFL has done with their dropped and catch rules anyway,
yeah,
No.
personally.
yeah.
I mean, if the ball wiggles when you land out of bounds, I'm sorry, but I don't think that should be a drop. But
Yeah, I agree with you there too. When you see that,
Yeah.
But to me, what we saw with Terry pretty clearly looked like a catch.
But let's not get it
Yeah.
twisted and think that Jane Daniels had a great game, because in my view he didn't. And
No,
it
he-
was not a bad game, but he just
No.
wasn't great.
Well, he had a good game. He made good reads. He was doing everything necessary, pre-snap and all that good stuff. I mean, he was even getting Terry McLaurin in the right position several times because of the fact that he wasn't lining up where he was needed to be. I mean, he was making all the right decisions. He was making. I mean, it was just simply, balls behind, balls overthrown. I mean, and it happens, just like you said, Steve, he hasn't been playing at all during the preseason.
Mhm.
I mean, going forward, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be just fine. I think he's going to improve. I think we all believe that, but it's, it's one game, week 1, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, like I said, to me, this is kind of like a C+ performance for him. And if that's your, what you're expecting is a C+, that's a good day for a lot of quarterbacks still in this league.
Yeah, I'm saying he was
yeah.
bad. I just mean it wasn't a great game by his standards. That's all I'm
Right.
saying.
So
Sure.
Let's talk about some of the other things that went on with this offense. Obviously, the line had some struggles against this pass rush. I think if there was one area where the Giants scared us, and rightly so, it was that pass rush. They were getting some pressure on Jaden Daniels. They took advantage of our rookie right tackle. I get it. But overall, I think the team compensated well for that. 3 sacks is not a terrible day. You don't want to have that every week, but if that's what you get versus one of the better pass rushing lines, you live with that.
Right. Yeah, I think the news out of it is Josh Connerly wasn't good. That's
Yeah.
what you get out of this, to me.
Yeah. For his first week, not
No.
good. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but you know who was good?
Who's that?
Bateman,
Tell me.
our tight end, John Bateman.
Bates.
John Bates, you mean?
Bates.
Yeah.
I keep messing these names up today. What's going on with me today?
It's a Tuesday. That's
Unbelievable.
what's going on. You're 24 hours early.
Can we have a
Dave-
take 2 on this show? Can we
No, we
rewind
cannot.
this or what?
Absolutely not.
So, but
the number of times
no,
I've screwed things up, no.
yeah. But as far as Bates, though, man, I mean, the guy is shown to be a true blocking tight end in this league. He may not be the best receiver on this team, but what he was doing, helping chipping these edge rushers, giving a little bit more time. You saw in the second half, Conley getting more help with Bates, and then him in the running game. I mean, I think he's
a great lead blocker. He's turned into a really good lead blocker.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, and let's talk about the running game. I remember saying at one point in the offseason that for Jaden Daniels to really have success long term, you need to have a running game you can rely on when he's not playing his A game. And that's exactly what we saw this week. Much to Steve's chagrin, Rodriguez did not get activated, and I agree he should have been.
He should have played.
They need to keep 4 running backs active in my mind. But Debo Samuels had his one run for 19 and a big touchdown. You add, there's a lot of different guys contributing to this running game, but this was a week where if you took Jaden Daniels' rushing yards out of the equation, it's still a good week running the ball overall. because they'd be at like 150-ish yards. That's a good day. So
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think it goes to show that they probably did the right thing in getting rid of Brian Robinson for a bag of chips, that they traded him
Yes.
for. Um,
who I think
I,
had 3 yards of carry in San Francisco, something like that.
well, and that kind of fits, does it not?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And Austin Eckler, who's never going to be in every down, all the time,
No,
franchise
he's a
running back's
dual
not his
threat
goal.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 for 26. Jeremy McNichols, 4 or 5 for 25. They're not going to keep these numbers up every game. They just
No.
can't. That's not realistic. But for this one game, it was a net positive. And they listen, as a team, they were 32 for 222 yards. So if you take Jaden Daniels out of that, that's
68 yards,
22 for 100 and little under 140, 132 yards, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, if my math is right here, in which is pretty decent.
Yeah, that's a good day of running the ball.
Because even like you take away Krosky Merritt's long of 42 and you're down to
you're under 100 at that point.
Well, but from an average standpoint, he had 9 for 40, which is still, like you said earlier, Dave, what, 4.4 yards per carry?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's where you want to be.
Now, see, the one thing that we saw with Krosky Murray's performance is exactly why Brian Robinson Jr. is no longer here, because Krosky Murray knows how to get skinny. He has that one real quick jump cut. He can get through the hole, makes a decision quick, and then bounces it to wherever he wants to get to. So you saw him, reading the defense and reading what holes were opening up much faster, processing it much quicker than what Brian Robinson ever did. Now, granted, when you looked at his college film, that's kind of what he was. He was that one cut runner, see the hole and he would take what the what the defenses gave him. Now, he worked a little more for his yardage in this game, but the offensive line did a decent job of run blocking and opening up lanes for him to hit these holes. But when he got to that second level, that one step cut that he took is something Brian Robinson Jr. never had for us, and I think that was a big difference. Never had that.
I think that's reasonable. I would sign on to most of what you just said.
Yeah, I would too. Passing game wise, obviously, I think we all hope Terry McLaurin can get on the same page sooner rather than later. Not a shock.
Noah Brown too. I mean,
yeah, Noah Brown.
He was due for 27.
Both of these guys missed a lot of time in the offseason. So, it's not surprising that Deebo Samuel was the leading target by a wide margin. But you just hope that once those two guys get really in sync with Jaden Daniels, this passing game is going to be fine.
And I would just point out that, Jalen, we didn't get this far down in the stats, but Jalen Lane was 1 for 11. I know there's a lot of fans that are disappointed and look at Jalen Lane as some sort of, Deshaun Jackson type guy or whatever, but that was never realistic, to expect that right off the bat. Maybe he can develop into that, but the guy was brought here to be a kick returner, okay?
Punt returner specifically.
Punt returner, right.
Because they didn't even have him on kick returns, I think.
You're right. Returns. No, they didn't. I mean, you're right. They didn't. The kick returns are Samuel and Luke McCaffrey. But I don't be disappointed. It's his first game. You get better, but it's not realistic if you're expecting the guy to go like 9 for 120 or whatever. That's just not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, of course not. And look, I have high expectations for him, but I think he's going to be a pure slot guy. I don't think he's going to be Deshaun Jackson, for example.
Oh no, I don't. I mean, I didn't. That was maybe a bad thing for me to say, but I mean, I'm just saying people have outsized expectations for him that were never realistic. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. I if he ends the season like with 400-ish yards, I'm going to be very happy. That's where I'm in with him. All right, so we're about halfway through the show, so we should really wrap this up and talk about the next game. Let's end with our old classic game balls.
All right.
This is one for offense, one for defense. Steve can play by Steve rules if he wants. I don't know why he'd want to in this week's game.
We'll see. I mean,
We'll see.
we'll
We'll
see.
let Steve ponder. We'll let him go last. I will go, and I'm gonna give my game balls because I have mine ready to go here. Bill, you're getting the game ball on offense. Congratulations on your first touchdown as a Washington football player. And you lost the ball when you scored the touchdown. Luckily, Terry gave it to you, so that was your game ball. You got it. Congratulations. And on defense is a little trickier, but let's go with Kinlaw. He surprised me. I didn't have high expectations for him coming in. But he's got a motor, man. If he can live up to that contract a little bit, very happy.
For me, I really do hope people can appreciate Bates and what he's going to be offering so far in his run game.
All right.
I'm absolutely giving him the game ball because of what he did
Mm-hmm.
for the run game, what he did to help Josh Connerly. He may not be a great receiving threat, but as a blocking tight end, something we haven't had in how long? And he
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of value, especially with these edge rushers we went against in this game.
Yeah.
He gets my offensive game ball. And defensive side, I'm going to give it to Deron Payne. I think he fed off. I think he fed off at Kinlaw beautifully. They worked great together, and he had two batted balls, had a sack, and he was very disruptive in the background in the backfield. So I give Deron Payne.
Deron Payne was a tree in the background. He was dressed up as a tree.
You're gonna live and die by John Bates.
You know what? If he keeps doing this every week, he's going to get my game ball every week. I'm going to give that appreciation.
Well, I think to me, it's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, as Alex said, so I'll sign up for that one on offense. He produced the most positive plays. First game regular season game as a rookie. I think he deserved it. And
but I thought Rodriguez would have gotten 45 yards on that.
He would have. He would have gotten the game ball
that
too.
That was Steve's text when the 44-yard run happened. Steve immediately texted, Rodriguez would have gotten 45.
And that's true. He would have. He would have. And defense, I'm going to go with Bobby Wagner.
Okay.
Here 10 tackles. Led the team in tackles. One
just
tackle
Mr. Reliable. I can't knock any. Look, the defense didn't have anyone make a wow play. Obviously, with no turnovers. Sacks are nice. But they just played solid all the way through.
Yes.
So you can't go wrong with any of it. Unless maybe you said Noah Igbenogany. I don't know if there's a name on that list on defense that I would be mad about anyone picking. All right, so that does it for last week's game versus the Giants. You can't go 17-0 unless you go 1-0, guys. So let's move on. We're going to talk about the game coming up here with Green Bay. I am much more nervous about this game after having watched them throttle the Lions.
You should be.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers are looking legit, guys. That's what I took away from watching that. Maybe it helps that Washington played slightly earlier last Sunday, and the 3 hours rest will help them. That's my only hope.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough matchup. They're traveling to Green Bay for a Thursday game. I hate Thursday football for NFL teams.
I think we all do. Yes.
Yeah, it's never a good thing. Especially for the team that has to travel. But that's the way it goes. The only saving grace for this is that it's early in the season, so these players aren't beat up yet. So I think the impact will be more, would be more, minimized more or less. It'd be more minimal of an impact in week 2 than it would in week like 10, to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe a little bit. But to me, first thing is the keys to this game. Number one, eliminate the mistakes. You're not going to have 12 penalties against the Packers and win the game.
Yeah.
To me. And the second thing to me is I think the Packers have a stable full of talented receivers here that fly a little bit under the radar scope just because they're not big names. Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, the highly touted rookie, Romeo Dubes, and they've got a good quarterback. I think Washington has their hands full this week, and I think it's a much bigger test for them than it was against the Giants, to be honest. I think Washington needs to establish a short passing game in this. The Packers had a decent run defense last year, and I I think that is the key to this game. Is I don't know if they're going to be able to run like they did against the Giants. So that's my instant reaction to this game,
Yeah, I would
or my
say
instant thoughts rather about this game.
I would say that those are pretty dead on. Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I think the one part of the Packers offense you can you can take advantage of is their interior offensive line isn't exactly great. You can generate pressure up the middle, and I think that if they can attack the middle and they can collapse the pocket and make Love uncomfortable, I think you have an opportunity to disrupt that passing game. Josh Jacobs is a very very good running back, and they are an excellent run blocking line. So, so if you could disrupt the middle of that line and get pressure in Love's face, Love will get in position where he will make an errant throw and give you an opportunity to create a turnover that way. Um, so I get that. As far as their defense, they have a pair of really good edge rushers out there. And
That's
they're
why I said short passing game, not
yeah,
long,
right.
not deep
Yep.
passing.
Yeah. And and their secondary is no joke either out there. So as far as that short passing game, that's exactly what they're going to need to do. But they're going to have to use a lot of misdirection with Samuels probably again. They're going to have to try to keep that defense off balance with running multiple plays off very similar formations as what Cliff Kingsbury does do very well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think this is going to be a blowout win for the Packers, but if we're not careful, this game can get away from them real quick.
Yeah, I think the wild card and I'm more worried about that Packers defense than offense. I think they have a sound offense there with Jordan Love and all that, but they didn't blow you away with anything last week. Uh, but this defense is going to be scary and only keep getting scarier as Parsons keeps playing. He only played 30 snaps on defense last week, 45% of the defensive snaps. I assume that number is going to tick up quite a bit in week 2. I would not surprise if we see him out there for a majority of this week, because Green Bay I think both these teams know that winning this game is important. Because there's a good chance you'll see each other in the playoffs, and that's home field advantage one way or the other. So, that kind of thing already is playing into how you strategize here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more Parsons than what Detroit saw. Um, I think this is going to be a tough fight for Washington's offense versus that defense just in general. But I do think you I don't think you'll be in a shootout necessarily. I think what you kind of saw from Green Bay points wise is what you'll see again. You know, 28, maybe 30 points, and so you just got to kind of edge them out there, and you'll, of course, whoever scores the most wins. But I'm not saying it's going to be
That's a
like
news. There's a insight. Whoever gets
I'm
the
not.
most points wins. Thanks for
I'm
that,
not
Alex.
saying it's. I'm not saying it's a 52-48 game. I'm saying it's more like a low or high 20s,
And what I
low
heard you
30s
say
game.
is
Yes,
whoever scores the most points will get the win. And
that's what
I'm
you
sure
heard
the
me.
audience,
Which is a bold prediction. That's
the
a hot
audience
take right there.
Yes.
listens to us for such an in-depth
Me
analysis.
literally saying I'm not trying to say this is saying this. I know. Yeah, but all right. So here's a question for you guys. Fun little trivia question. Do
Okay.
you remember what you were doing October 23rd, 1988?
October 23rd, 1988. Wow.
Yes. I
Steve,
was at
Steve,
home.
Steve has an eidetic memory. He was at home.
I was at home.
Dave?
Oh, more than likely that actually, you know what? That might have been around the time where I pushed my best friend down a concrete set of steps. That might have been that time.
So I will tell you what you were probably doing, and that is watching Washington beat Green Bay in Lambeau the last time they did it. It's been a long time since Washington's had a
I don't
win
know.
up in
Back
Green
then
Bay.
it was you couldn't necessarily see out of market games. I probably was not watching it
That's true. That's true.
because in '88 I did not live in the Washington D.C. area.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. I forgot, and I didn't. They tell you some info. I don't have if that was a primetime game listed here. Uh, but yes, the last time Washington beat Green Bay, 2017, October 10th or October 23rd, 1988. So it's been a long time. I was in kindergarten or no, first grade. First grade. I was a year early. So you know, I was, playing with Nerf guns or something.
I was going to say,
Probably.
do you remember what you were doing on that
Yeah,
day?
no, probably playing with Nerf guns. That's all I did as a child. Just shot things at other children. The 80s were fun.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So, any other thoughts about this game? I feel like we got some time to fill before we
And this
get into it.
game, that game was an afternoon game
It was
for
an
the
afternoon
record
game. Okay.
for a 4 p.m. start time.
So you might have been able to see it.
There's a
That's a
chance
late.
I might have been on.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was
That
that? Don Mikowski maybe was their quarterback probably at that time?
who?
Or
Green
Don
Bay?
Mikowski coming like a couple years after that?
No, it was Don. It was Don Majikowski. Yep.
Yeah.
And in terms of so what I said was, eliminate the mistakes, control the wide receivers, establish short passing, and to me those are the keys. So the reasons stated.
Mhm.
But look, this is a really, really tall order. I mean, it's a Thursday. It's a very short week. They're traveling. The Packers dominated the Lions.
Yep.
This does not. And you make a good point with Micah Parsons. 1 week more weekend. It's
Yep.
this isn't a happy fun game.
Well, the only thing with Micah Parsons I would offer out there, because he is still dealing with the back issues a little bit, being a short week, his uptick of starts may not increase by that much, but we'll see.
Yeah, you have a point there. That could help. I think that I don't think the run game will be as productive, but I think you got to lean on the run game quite a bit still this week. Uh, Jaden is still going to be finding his rhythm with the receiving core. I'm not going to expect him to throw for 350 yet.
Jaden's got to be better.
Yeah, he has. I think they'll be better, but given that they're going against Parsons, who like overall, I actually think the Giants have a better D line, but Micah Parsons might be when he's on the field, he might be the best player on the field, and that includes with
Right.
Jaden Daniels out there. I think
Yeah, that's probably fair.
yeah, I think
Now,
Mike
now,
Parsons might be one. He's that level of good.
now, the one thing I wouldn't be surprised seeing if you see a lot more read options in this game to take advantage of the aggressive edge rushers, because I mean Micah Parsons is very aggressive off the edge. You can get him to stutter step every now and then. I mean, we played against him twice a year, and they were able
Mm-hmm.
to take advantage of his overly aggressiveness at times too. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little more design read options for Jaden Daniels to at
Mm-hmm.
least try to stretch the defense out a little bit, create more running lanes. And then you had Debo Samuels being used more of a decoy, I think. I really don't think they're going to utilize him a lot in a running game. Just kind of set him up for like they did in the Giants game for that one play where it's like, oh, now they finally give it to him and he gets a big chunk set of yards. So, but I think we'll see a lot more of that. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's a decent point. Can't argue with any of that.
Yeah. Um. All right. Why don't we get to our predictions, and then we can talk about some of the other stuff that's been happening in the league. Obviously, since week one's now over. So I'll go first. I am going to stick with my, season guess, which was that Washington would win this thing. Um, I kind of hinted at this earlier. I don't think this is going to be that high scoring. I'm going to say this ends up being something like a 27-24 type win for Washington. Nail biter.
I'm going to stick with the Packers winning this game. I actually had 27-20 Packers.
I'm still going to stick with the Packers winning this game, and I'm looking at probably a 24-21 game.
So we're all in the same ballpark in terms of
Yeah.
where this game's going to be. It'll at least be close. I don't think anyone's getting blown out here. I think both these teams are
No.
going to come
It's
to
not going to
play.
be 56-8 or something.
No, no.
I actually think Washington will walk away. I think when Washington walks away from this game, I think people go, yes, that's definitely a playoff team. I don't think they get blown out by the Packers. I think they hang tough. I think the Packers just have too much that Washington won't be
Well,
able
it's
to
a lot of
overcome.
circumstances against them too. A Thursday
Yeah,
in Green Bay is not good.
right.
Yeah, yeah. It's why I hate the short weeks so much. The I I wish the NFL would one get rid of them, but if not get rid of them, at least do something fun with the short weeks. Make these all the neutral site games, all your stupid London games, all that. Just put those on Thursday nights. I don't care if the London people have to be up at like 3 a.m. to go to the game because they're in London. Screw
Well,
them.
they're not going to do that
I
because
know they
they're also
won't.
trying to attract European fans.
I know.
It's
I
not
know.
about you, Alex.
I know it's not, but I still think it'd be more fun that way.
By the way, this game's on Amazon for the record. Just so
Yeah.
those of you who don't like me, don't subscribe, you're gonna have to find a way to see the game. And we talked on It's Just Business this week about the death of Stream East.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
Ugh. That's a shame. All right, so let's talk about the rest of what happened last week. I know, Dave, you mentioned the Bills Ravens epic final. What was it, 2 minutes or so, or 3 minutes that I
Yeah, they
fell
were
asleep
down
before
20.
the end.
They were down 40-25
Yeah,
in like the last like 4.5 minutes of the
four and a
game or
half
something
minutes.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and coming
Derrick
back.
Henry hadn't fumbled.
Yeah,
Yep.
but that's a huge early season game. Obviously, playoff implications right away. I think a lot of people locally were talking about the Vikings Bears game. Similar last minute comeback for the Vikings to win that one. There's a lot of talk about the Caleb Williams factor. I think in DC, there's always going to be this link between him and Jaden Daniels. Um, and all these stories coming out about how bad Caleb Williams was off the field in terms of quarterback development that have
Yeah,
been
well,
coming
look,
out.
okay, here's the thing, okay? And Washington fans can attest to this. You have to have a solid structure around a rookie quarterback.
A
And the
really
Bears
good
have been
foundation.
the
Yeah.
Bears have been the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Complete opposite of that. And yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams is a little strange, and
Yeah.
the nail. I'll never understand why any male paint his nails or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, they don't have a good team. There's been chaos around them, and I mean, Washington's seen this over and over and over and over again for an entire generation. And so
Right.
I think if you put, like, I think Caleb Williams would have played much better in Washington for a solid coach, for example. So I don't think you can just write him off yet. He still has a chance to get better if a miracle happens and Chicago becomes all of a sudden a stable franchise.
Yeah.
Because I think he does have talent, and I stand by my, um, you know, quarterback analysis last year. He has talent. You just need to be able to train him right to play in an NFL game, and a lot of coaches just aren't good at it.
I think he has that benefit with Ben Johnson. I mean, Ben Johnson took a quarterback in Jared Goff that was average, good, and he made him into practically into a Pro Bowl quarterback, and that's because he knew what his weaknesses were and he played to his strengths and he allowed the running game, that offensive line, the receivers to do what they need to do in his system. He's going to do the same thing with Caleb Williams, but what Caleb Williams brings, he brings a more lively arm, he brings mobility, and he brings certain intangibles that Goff just never had. People have to understand Ben Johnson's system is not an easy is not is not an easy system. It's not like he runs 6 plays and he runs like 5 different formations and runs those 6 plays off those 5 formations. That's it. That's all he does. There's a lot of gadget plays. There's a lot of trick plays. He sets up plays throughout the course of the year. The offense will develop over the course of the year. The Bears' offense is going to be fine by midseason. I think Caleb Williams is going to be fine by midseason. I think you're going to see a much different team 4 to 6 weeks from now than you saw this past weekend.
He actually didn't play that badly for most of that Bears Vikings game.
Well, no, he started off 5 for 5 on that drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And the throws he made weren't like they were just dump off throws.
That's
they
what
were
I'm
good
saying.
throws
He actually played pretty well for most of that game.
He just tanked in the second half in
That's
epic
exactly right.
fashion.
Well, we've seen this in Washington time and time and time again.
Sure. Well, I mean, you were talking about, the failure of quarterbacks. I think Chicago might rival us.
They've had their share. Oh yeah, they've had their share.
Yeah. Their best quarterback in their history is a very average Jim McMahon, or what is not Jim McMahon.
That's not their best quarterback in history. But continue.
Who's
there was keep going. There's another one.
I would argue that's the only one that I remember winning anything. So, that would be my pick at least. And that's a guy who played only half his career there and was mostly injured. Chicago, it's a hard place to play quarterback, I think, because of the climate and because of a lot of things. Ownership.
I was thinking of Sid Luckman.
Oh, Sid Luckman. Okay, yeah. Going back to like the 1940s.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
When he threw 6 passes a game, and
that's
3 of them were laterals.
Sorry.
No, I get it. But it's been a long time, is the point.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not surprising to see another quarterback struggle there. And I'll be honest, with some of the stories that have come out, part of my brain is always thinking, is this being leaked from someone inside a team to prepare the public for them to say, all right, this guy was a bust, let's move on. Because that happens. It does happen all the time.
Yeah. Hard to say.
It's hard to say
for that.
We're also not inside there and as knowledgeable about Chicago. Like when it was happening with RG3 in 2013, we all knew what was happening.
Yes.
We all heard the rumors. We all, saw everything going on. That one was clear to us. But
Mike Shanahan was a bastard too. So.
Oh yeah, he was a mean bastard in that regard. Yeah. Anyway, I just wonder if they're already doing that to him, and I'd feel bad for the kid if they were, because he's not a bad kid. He just has some issues.
Think he'll be better. I think he's gonna. I think Dave's right. I think he's going to be better as the season goes on.
I hope so. It would make it more interesting. Also, that NFC North is just a gauntlet if they're good, because then you have 4 really good teams. The only other big thing, Dave, you'd mentioned this one. Aaron Rodgers is having a nice little resurgence there in Pittsburgh. He also looks 108, which is interesting.
What happens when you live on a diet of ayahuasca and vodka?
Yeah, that's part of it. And I'm just gonna assume unfiltered Marlboros.
It would fit with the profile, wouldn't it?
Right. He'll look very comfortable in 2 or 3 years, like doing bad westerns.
Yes.
Yeah. He'll hang out with Kevin Costner doing a remake of Yellowstone or something.
He kind of fits the mold for sure.
He absolutely fits the mold. But he had a great game. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but he had a great first week. That ended up being a bit of a shootout. That rematch, or not rematch, the game against the Jets, his old team. Which thanks NFL for those little gifts, giving Aaron Rodgers a revenge game in his first week, things like that. That's always fun.
Yeah, so in that game, Aaron Rodgers was 22 of 30 for 244 yards and 4 touchdowns with a passer rating of a 136.7.
That's vintage Aaron Rodgers right there.
Yes. I mean, look, the NFL schedule is not random. Okay.
I know. No one thinks it is.
No, I know. I mean, there's very intentional selections with especially the week 1 games.
Yeah. And things like that. They want to put those rematches early. That's why Washington plays the Bears fairly early that's like an early October game because they want that Jane Daniels versus Caleb thing, right? Like this
Absolutely,
is
it's
the
great
stuff they're
marketing.
going for. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
So anyway, congrats to Aaron Rodgers for apparently not being as washed up as everyone assumed you were. I
Well, give him
guess.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if their defense keeps sucking, he'll get all very pouty. You know that.
Give him time, no matter what. Something's
Yeah.
gonna blow
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Like
Him
Brett
versus.
Favre 2.0.
Yep.
Now you act like Brett Favre has a history, or not Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers has a history of this. Come on now. Aaron Rodgers has always been an upstanding teammate, loved all his players. It was
Oh,
a
absolutely. Yeah, and
consummate pro.
he's not a
Classic
weirdo at
family
all.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny with some of the rumors I heard that Pittsburgh purposely did not draft a quarterback outside of Will Howard, but he wasn't a future guy because they did not want to put anybody on that team that would in any way, shape, or form put any kind of pressure or discomfort on an Aaron Rodgers led offense. So I thought that was funny.
That is funny. It's weird for a one season thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right, so that should wrap up the show. Good luck, everybody, staying up till like 2 a.m. or whatever it'll end up being for the Green Bay game. I'm sure I'll enjoy it, but I'll
This is when
regret
I'm
it.
happy I'm in Central Time.
Yeah, yeah. That is the one advantage of being not on the Eastern Seaboard.
Yes.
All right, guys, we will talk to you all next week. Hopefully after a win. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Later.
Later.
Yeah, he's such a weirdo. Oh.